Still looking at food inflation for a report that was released by the NBC. We'll take a look at the impact of these new numbers on commodity market as food inflation dropped from 23.75% to drop from 24.13% rather to 23.75% in the month of December. Now, the question is what is likely to change. According to the NBS, the rise in food inflation was caused by increases in prices of bread, cereals, oil and fat, potatoes, yam, and other tubers, fish, and other food products. The average annual rate of food inflation for the 12-month ending December over the previous 12-month average was about 20.94%, which is about 0.53% higher than the average annual rate of change recorded in December 2021. So let's get talking now. Mr. Olaide Bano is macroeconomic analyst. He joins us virtually. Thank you for your time. Good to see you again. Happy New Year.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for having me, sir. Happy New Year too.
Yeah. So what's your take? It looks like things are looking great now with the fact that we're having a drop in food inflation from 24.13% in November last year to 23.75% in December.
Yeah, the food inflation dropped, as you said, and it's greatly affected the headline inflation to decline by 13 basis points. And the food inflation is declined not because of anything, but because of the low consumer spending we experienced in December. Normally, December period is supposed to be the which is the festive season that people are supposed to be spending more. But we recognize that there are some promo by various companies in terms of slashing the prices of their goods lower. But despite that, the purchasing power was not able to impact positively on their own earnings also, which from the consumer side, as a result of the low consumer spending, we experience that low in the food inflation.
And so basically it is because there was low spending by consumers in the month of December. That's why you were having this drop, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So going forward, do we expect, how soon do we begin to see this reflected in the prices of food or commodities? Because as at today, food are still expensive. They're very expensive. If you look at beans, a bag of beans, a bag of rice, still almost at the same price it was last year.
Yeah, the price of goods are still quite expensive, as you said, but we may begin to see a kind of decline in the number in terms of the food inflation figure impacted by the base year effect. If you remember, around this time last year, we experienced some kind of duty for importation. We massively put increase in the transportation cost and also affected the what we call it, the food inflation in that aspect. And towards February, March, we experienced the Russia Ukraine prices over that period. So that was when the food prices begin to skyrocket significantly, and as a result of the base year effects, we may begin to see decline in the food inflation in terms of the inflation figure. But looking at the price of the goods we are buying in the market, actually, the price will still be relatively the same or relatively lower. Lower in the sense of because of the exchange rate, if being at the same rate now, which we are currently having. But by and large, the base year effect is expected to impact on the food inflation.
Because food is essential, it's an essential commodity among other commodities. Then let's talk, will it also reflect in other aspects or other markets as well? How soon do we begin to see it also reflecting or reflected in those segments of the market. Apart from commodities, once the food inflation start going down, it is expected, just economic theory, it's expected that it will affect other sector of the economy.
Yeah, but what we are actually experiencing in terms of the core inflation, as you mentioned, is the issue of the exchange rate. If the exchange rate is being maintained at this particular rate, we may begin to see decline in that aspect too. And if you notice, the most recent rate hike by the CBN and other central banks across the world have actually been having effect on the headline inflation generally, and that has been what we experience not only in Nigeria, in other economies of the world. So the rate hike, which is on the world call it, which is affecting the core inflation also, and the FX liquidity, which that if FX is being maintained at this particular rate which we are having now, we may begin to see aggregate decline in the headline inflation. And by and large, because of the high inflation rate we had this period 2022, we may begin to see decline in the headline inflation, and this may actually be putting signal to the monetary policy committees to have rethink about the rate hike, or even holding their rates. Possibly.
I was going to come to that. That what is likely to happen, because I was asking an analyst earlier on the show what may likely be the stand of the CBN at the next MPC meeting, and so I would like to hear from you as well. And with this number enough, will it be enough for CBN to make a decision? So how significantly will it influence the CBN MPC policy in their next meeting?
The last MPC meeting report was that because of the inflation still very high, but on the month-on-month basis which we had in November, that declined. So because of that, they still increase tighten the monetary policy rate by 1%, then to 16.5% aggregately. So having inflation rates lower aggregately, but on the month-to-month basis, we expect that the headline inflation, which increased to 1.71%, this may actually affect their decision in terms of the food inflation is coming down, the headline inflation is coming down. They may have a rethink that and also the fear of recession. Other economies across the world are also looking at the way of maintaining the economy in the positive manner, which CBN too may want to look into that direction. And I believe they may likely looking at maintaining the interest rate at 60.5% and looking to monitor the economy towards March, when the next meeting will come up, to say if it's to adjust the inflation rate by then. But this January, I think they may hold on to the rate as 60.5%.
Let's dwell on the agri sector and of course the food value chain, which of course we expect some activities there to perhaps cushion the effects of an inflation rate, high inflation rate on that particular segment. Let's talk about the fact that agri in the second quarter of last year, the agri sector contributed about 23.24% to overall GDP in real term. That was second quarter last year. However, floods across the country, which was of course submerged some parts of the country. Farms were washed away. Some farm produce were washed away as well. We do know that some people, some farms were not affected. Now we are still in the harvest season. How much do we expect to get, or respite do we expect to get from some of these farms who are still harvesting on the commodity market?
This harvest season we are experiencing, the dry season harvest period, we begin to see because
I know that yam in some parts of the country, especially in the north, they are still harvesting yam, from farm as I speak to you.
Yeah, we may begin to see some kind of decline in their output compared to what we've been having before. Largely, we noticed that one of the major news that came out during the flood season was that Olam Farm, which was about $5 billion investment was of rice was washed away by the flood. So this will greatly affect the general output of farmers in terms of what we are to have in the market, and aggregately we will begin to see some kind of shortage in that aspect going forward. And another thing is that, okay, after the flood, we begin to see a kind of planting that, okay, yes, towards the end of this 2023, we may to start seeing another significant output. But we never can tell what will happen again if we are to experience another flood, or if not, we pray that doesn't happen any longer. But
So in a nutshell, what you're saying is that even though we have a decline in food inflation, this will be short-lived because we expect that the impact of floods, last year, and some of the farms that were affected may likely, impact significantly on the shortage or the amount of food that we have out there. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. We create shortage, but on the food inflation, in terms of the number, that's what I said earlier. That okay. In terms of the number in the food inflation, because of the year-on-year base effect, we begin to see decline in that aspect. But in terms of the real prices of the goods and the shortage, because of that flood, we may begin to see a little bit increase in the price of goods. But because of the base year effects, in terms of the number, we may begin to see decline.
Okay, I think we should leave it there. Thank you so much for your time on Business Breakfast. Olaide Bano is a macroeconomic analyst. We appreciate your time greatly.
Thank you very much.
And you have a great day. Still to come after the break, we turn attention to the global market as Brent crude rose by 16 cents. That's about 0.2% to $84.62. So Brent crude is now $84.62 in early trade. Well, we'll bring you more details after this break. Please stay with us.